6 o'clock. We are going to make a motion to enter executive session. The superintendent recommends entering the executive session for a purpose of discussing contracts. Can I have a motion? By Bob. Henry, second. Okay, all in favor? It shows 5 in favor, 2 are not present. We will move into executive session. Welcome to the Iroquois Central School District Board of Education meeting. There are two recognition of guest periods, one for agenda-related items and one for other topics. Please refrain from personnel-related comments and address those to the appropriate administrator. To speak, fill out the proper form and submit it to the district clerk. Public comment is limited to 15 minutes total, with each speaker allowed up to 3 minutes. This meeting is held in public rather than a public meeting. And while we will not engage in dialogue tonight, we are listening. This meeting is live streamed and the recording will be posted online. Okay, we will rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Intermediate school students, Jonas, Cecilia will say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job. All right, come on up here. You should get a picture for your parents. Nice job.
Yes, so.
Now we'll hear from Tucker from the 7th grade. He will do the student report with us, talking about learning science in school. Helped him on his YouTube.
All right. Hold on 1 second. All right, so I just want to give a little introduction here about Tucker. So recently I asked all the middle school faculty to share names of students who were doing some remarkable things that maybe sometimes fly under the radar. And to be honest, I did not receive 1, 2, but 3 separate emails from teachers naming the student standing next to me who is Tucker. He's going to be sharing this month's middle school report. And what makes Tucker so remarkable is that he is the very heart of our district's mission. And just to remind everybody, this is our mission: to provide academically challenging, relevant, and purposeful learning experiences in partnership with parents and the community. We're committed to an engaged and inclusive approach that encourages innovation and creativity, preparing students for success in an ever-changing world. And Tucker's the perfect example of this. What he will share with you tonight shows what happens when the skills and learning experiences from our classroom extend beyond school and into students' lives in meaningful ways. So I'm going to turn it over to Tucker. He's going to talk a little bit, and there's a short video that he'd like to share.
Okay, so I make connections between science and my real life experiences every day. I even started using my own ideas for extra credit projects we call science snaps. For one project, we could pick any physical science topic and do an experiment or project at home. I made a video about an air compressor in my video. I explained what air compressors are used for and how they work. This connects to what we've learned about the states of matter and the properties of each state. I showed my video to the class and helped other students see how something they might have in their parents' garage or shed and how it works. I've been also working on maple syrup outside of school, and it has a lot to do with science, and we learned about density and phase changes. To make maple syrup, the sap, which is sugar water, has to be boiled. When I boil the sap and the water slowly leaves as steam, the heat adds energy and makes the molecules move faster. As the water leaves, the sap gets thicker and more packed together. This changes the density. At first, the sap has a density of about 1.2 grams slash milliliters, but it boils down, it becomes thicker with a density of about 1.4 grams per milliliter. It's cool because the maple syrup we put on our pancakes is made by using science. It's interesting to see how they work. I do after school connections to what we learn in class. Making maple syrup helps me understand ideas like density, energy, phase changes, states of matter, and pure substances by doing hands-on work. Many students might not know how maple syrup is made, but I get to see the science in it every day. We're going to be building a maple syrup evaporator with using a camp stove kit and a 55-gallon drum. So we're going to put the door on the bottom side, the legs on it, and then we'll have the dampener and then a stovepipe that comes off like probably there.
And why do you need to build this?
So I can boil maple syrup a lot faster.
Okay, so why do you have to boil maple syrup?
So you can get it to the right sugar content to be able to be maple syrup.
To be clear, you don't boil maple syrup, you boil
Oh, well, the sap.
the sap. There we go. And what's that over there?
That's the boiling pan.
That's the boiling pan. So the sap is going to go into that boiling pan that's going to sit on top of this barrel, correct?
Yes.
And then once it's all boiled out, there's a valve on the side here to basically collect the sap, right?
Yep.
But this isn't the only step, right? You've got another step in the process?
Filtering it.
What about your RO?
Oh, yeah, the reverse osmosis.
Reverse osmosis, right? So you put it through your RO first, and then you'll boil it to finish it?
Yep.
All right. So that's pretty much what we're after right there. You see all the steam coming off? Obviously, we just have water in there right now, but when sap is in there, the water that is going to be burning off is going to leave the more purified and concentrated sap, which eventually turns into syrup. So there is a specific, I think it's like 210 degrees, isn't it?
219.
Well, the water boils at 212.
219.
So you want it above boiling?
Yeah.
Might be wise to get a thermostat or a thermometer in here, huh?
I have a refractometer.
Refractometer?
Yep, something like that.
That's pretty much what we're going after right there.
I am currently boiling maple syrup. I recently just ran it through my reverse osmosis.
I've already been boiling for a long time. When I was pouring it in, we didn't get that much because when I was pouring it in, I didn't realize I had my valve open because I cleaned it before this, which is okay. So I only ended up with probably 7 gallons to boil today down, which is not great, but yeah, that's the refractometer. It measures the sugar content in the sap. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the density of this chunk of steel and this ball of tape. So we're just going to be finding the different amount of weights, and that will determine how much more stuff is packed in each one. So the steel one weighs 3.2. This tape one weighs 0.5. So the chunk of steel is 2.7 ounces heavier than the ball of tape. So that means this has more molecules inside of this steel ball versus this tape, which means there's probably quite a bit of air bubbles in here. So how do air compressors work? All air compressors will have a tank and a motor. This air compressor in particular has 2 connections where you can hook up the lines. Also, this is how much pressure is in the lines that you have connected. And this is the valve that controls how much air flow is going into them. And then this is how much pressure is in the tank. And those last 2 videos were my science snaps.
It's cool.
There's just one other thing too. I showed this to Tucker, his teacher's Mrs. Pollinger, and she said on the state assessment last year, they had a whole cluster question that was maple sugaring, like maple syrup. So when they showed these to your class, you're like, oh, I got this. So it's really cool. So if anybody wants to look at some cluster questions.
Yes, so, Tucker, so basically, so what you're saying is though that it helped you understand the material better because of what you learned in school in the classroom, you were able to see happen in real life and practicality, and then you take that and pass it on to other people.
Yep.
That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to.
Can someone please bring Bob maple syrup?
Just a little.
Okay, now we'll hear from our athletic director, Carrie Vetter. Come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Okay. So I'm mainly here tonight to talk about volunteers in our athletic program, but we thought it would be convenient to start with a fall and winter recap of our seasons. Oh, do I have controls here?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
There you go. Now it'll work.
Okay, so for our fall season, I know a lot of this was already shared with you, I think in some of Mr. Schofield's reports, but we had about, how many is that, seven of our fall teams were ECIC division champions this fall. So that's a lot of banner updates right there, and that's exciting for our fall teams. I know that you've already gotten a report on our fall scholar athlete kiddos, but all 11 of our fall teams received the Team Scholar Athlete Award, and we had 30 kids recognized as runner-up, and then 4 were recognized as winners for the fall season. And then for our postseason honors, we had 2 kids. Am I close enough? Is this loud enough?
No, you're good.
Okay.
I think so. Is she good, Paul? Is she good with the volume?
Okay. And we had 2 kids from our cross-country team qualify for states in the fall. In the winter, which is, we're just wrapping up now, we had 1 team that were ECIC division champs. That's our boys basketball team. We had 2 teams sectional champions, boys indoor track and field, and our unified bowling team. And then we had 2 teams that were runners-up this year, the girls indoor track and field team and our girls ice hockey team. What's really impressive is that we had more kids qualify for states as individuals than we've ever had before. I think it's a total of 12 kids. Ariana in rifle, Seth from swimming, Michaela from girls wrestling, Alex from boys wrestling, and then our indoor track team had 8 kids: Ava, Kate, Kalia, Georgia, Nick Chase, Tristan, Edward, and Logan. We don't have scholar athlete results yet for the winter, but I thought it would be interesting to point out some of our individual accolades. Excuse me, I am recovering. I'm just hoping I don't have a coughing fit during the middle of this. We had Justice from our boys basketball team surpass 2,000 points this season. He is now our all-time leading scorer for both boys and girls. Kendall from our girls basketball team surpassed 1,000 rebounds this season. And we had a whole slew of school records with our track and field team this winter. Kalia tied the school record for the high jump. Georgia got the school record for the long jump. Ava, school record for the 55 meter. Chase, school record for the 1,000 meter. Nick was a school record for the 55, and although this group didn't qualify for states, they did get a school record in the 4x200, which is Ava, Georgia, Rachel, and Kalia.
Just real quick there for the board and for you too. Exceptional with the way they did with that, but I really love the scholar athletes, the teams on the scholar athletes, because trying to develop a well-rounded person, with the parents and working together as a team, that really shows how well not only doing athletically, but also academically. And I just think that's great kudos to the whole program and all the people and all the coaches and teachers and everyone, especially the students, because they're the ones doing the work. So thank you.
Sure. And I don't have a slide for our spring season since we're just getting started, but I can say we're 3 days into the season. We're off to a great start. We've had some great weather to get started, so our teams have luckily been able to get out on the turf, and we've got a really good system to kind of share. Our very first day, there were like hundreds of kids all on the turf at one time, so it's great to see, but I think, that's something that's impressive with our new facility over there, is it's getting a ton of use. We've had phys ed classes out there as well this week, so it's a great resource for our kids. And helps us with some of the challenges with, even though the weather's nice, the grass fields are kind of a little muddy and all of that, and so we're able to keep off the grass and get on the turf, so.
I think little muddy is an understatement, but.
Yeah, well, you know what? Some of our fields are actually pretty dry.
Yeah,
but
they
there's
do a great
definitely
job of trying to get them.
swampy spots, so. Okay, athletic program volunteers. I'm going to start quickly with what we're currently doing here at Iroquois. So when a coach comes to me with a recommendation to have a volunteer with their program, I collect a resume and make a recommendation to the Board of Education for approval. From there, we do give our volunteers an option and some resources for getting their CPR, AED, first aid, and concussion certifications. We ask that the volunteers are working towards these certifications, but it's not something we have required in the past. Because of this, we have limited responsibilities with our volunteers. And those consist of being able to assist with drills, help with supervision, do any stat keeping or score keeping, and help with game day operations. Getting the kids organized and out to the field, making sure everything is good in the locker room, and making sure maybe some drills and things are organized. But our volunteers are limited because they're not coaches technically by certification. So what we've always gone by is that we can have volunteers, but they have to be under the direct supervision of our certified coaches at all times, which means they're not supposed to be left alone out on the court or the field with the athletes. And they can't serve in a coaching role, so they've not been the type to be involved with any discipline or any specific coaching in terms of how to do certain drills or skills with the athletes.
I think the big thing, point out her one key word she said, and they're limited by certification. It's a New York State thing. I think she's going to talk about that now.
So every year at our mandatory ADs meeting in the summer, with our executive director from NISFA, which is the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, that's our governing body for New York State athletics. They remind all of our schools with this language. All NISFA member schools must abide by NICED regulations for coaching certifications. That includes non-public schools, volunteer coaches, and assistant coaches. And then below is the NICED regulation. Other persons with coaching qualifications and experience satisfactory to the Board of Education may be appointed as temporary coaches of inter-school sport teams, whether in a paid or non-paid volunteer status. That's where the volunteer piece comes in. And in this case, most of our volunteers are non-paid. All of them are non-paid. And that's upon the issuance of the commissioner of a temporary coaching license. So a temporary coaching license is what our coaches get that are non-teacher coaches. So any coach we have that doesn't have a teaching certification or a PE certification is required to have a temporary coaching license, and that is obtained through Teach, which is our database that we kind of use for even teacher certifications and everything. That's where their fingerprints get uploaded, the DASA, the SAVE, the child abuse courses. It used to be their CPR and first aid and AED were uploaded to that system as well. They've taken that away and put it on the districts now, but it's a database to keep all of their coaching certifications in one place.
So, can I ask a
Yep.
question just the previous slide?
Mhm.
So, whether it's volunteers, coaches, assistant coaches, I guess, what do we do to ensure all the certifications are current before we recommend for these coaches to be put on our staff?
Are you referring to the volunteers, or are you referring to? So in
like
general?
Coaches, assistant coaches, volunteers, I know they all need different certifications.
Yeah.
Coaches obviously have more.
Yep.
More certs. So I'm just wondering, because when we get, we're approving some coaches this evening for the spring sports. I guess we kind of assume that all the due diligence has been done, and certifications are up to date. So I guess, how do we keep track of, ensure people are current, I guess?
Break that into what for coaches and volunteers, because it's very different what we do here for the two.
Talk about coaches.
Okay. any of our paid district coaches, including our coordinator roles, those all require coaching certification. Depending on your status, if you're a PE teacher, you're essentially considered most qualified for coaching jobs. Those teachers, just PE teachers, just have to do CPR, first aid, concussion, and renew that when it is expired. I keep track of those on a spreadsheet and have copies in a file in my office for all those phys ed teachers. Teachers that are certified teachers, regardless of whether they're Iroquois teachers or from another district or whatever, if they have a teacher certification, they require coaching courses as well. So the same thing a PE teacher would require, CPR, AED, first aid, and then the DASA, the Save the Child Abuse, the concussion certifications, and then their extra layer is to take coaching courses. There's 3 of them. The first one is required within the first 2 years of coaching, and the other 2 are required within the first 5 years of coaching. So any teacher, a certified teacher, can start coaching tomorrow as long as they have their CPR, AED, and first aid, and they just have to be working towards those coaching courses that are specific to the sport they're coaching. So they're specific to baseball or softball or whichever. Again, I just keep those on a spreadsheet, and then they turn in like their certificates from completion of the courses to me. For our non-teacher, the third category would be non-certified teachers. So just anybody that wanted to come in to coach that doesn't have a teacher certification. They've got kind of like the extra burden of having to do the fingerprints, having to do DASA, Save and Child Abuse, which are courses that our certified teachers take when we're going through our education courses in college. And they've got to apply for a coaching license on Teach, which is an extra financial burden, which is on one of my slides as well. And that, thankfully, is tracked really by Erie 2 BOCES. So I just communicate with them, and then once everything is on their file, they send me like a confirmation that the certification is complete, and I keep that confirmation in their file.
So just doing the rundown, you manually curate or process or keep the records of everybody. So how do you maintain the level of certifications and when they're due or overdue? Because that to me would seem like A, a large task, B, it could be a gap, and 3, it's human error, right? You're literally looking through your created spreadsheet when I would think it should sit in a database and not in a file or even a file folder.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of a database, and I've communicated with some other ADs, and we all kind of have similar systems for tracking. My system is...
We're looking at each other because I'm like, yeah, there really is no database. This has been a question for years about a better database, a better way of controlling it. Even any human resource program doesn't do a good job. It's still human error of going there, pulling it out, taping up there. I wish I could say I know of a district, and I know Carrie's, over the few years she's been here, we've talked about her with ADs, talking to other people. What do they have? How are they doing it? Trying to find a better way to skin the cat.
So, I mean, I know I came from previous life, I came from climbing wind turbines and safety protocol. There are a plethora of databases out there that certifications can be downloaded and kept, and records can be kept. I mean, large companies do that for certifications.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think it would be that huge of a lift, but the reason for my questioning is not necessarily calling you out. It's moreover in the effort of protecting our kids and making sure that we have certified coaches, certified presence for health and safety, right? And I'm not saying that a gap in a certification is going to make or break a decision, but you know, to me, it seems like, you know, something that could slip through the cracks, and it's a lot of manual effort on your side. So that's the reasoning for the questioning.
I was gonna say, I think that although schools generically may not have that database, and with the information Keith brought, maybe Doug, that's on the administration.
Yeah, I just wrote it down. I never thought of looking for
outside of the school.
Outside the school system, so.
But also, I mean, if we have a situation where coaches aren't certified and an injury or something happens, we could be
It's a liability.
To the district.
Yeah, flat, it's not
So we
a
need to
question,
make
it
sure
is.
we're
Yeah.
really keeping track of that holistically, because I think that when we approve the coaching at these board meetings, we assume all the certs are in place, background checks are done,
I agree.
And it's,
That's all I can say
all
is
of
I
our ducks
agree.
are in a row, so I just want to make sure we're,
Yeah.
seeing a way that we can effectively manage it, yeah.
Yeah, so
I do
I
know
think
that-
Dave and Carrie can start doing other searches, and if you know some already, if you want to send us some names, it'd make our search a lot smaller.
I do know that some of the schools that have, like our Family ID registration system, some of the schools use another, a program that I'm drawing the blank on the name right now. It does house those types of things. It will house certifications. It does have that tab on it, but I still believe that it's all manually inputted. So it does still, have that potential for human error.
So yeah, and I would say you're never gonna get away from a manual input, and I don't
Yeah.
think you will, because you're up to certification and when they renew it.
Mm-hmm.
The real benefit, I think, is making sure, A, you're compliant, B, you can have a quick overview, and C, if someone's out of compliance, you have a quick reference of that.
Yeah.
You're not going through individual files.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, you'll always have that, and I'm not expecting, you would have to have a holistic database and a training program to then, for them to train on that, and then
Yeah.
that would be that would be the environment. That's
Yeah.
not really what I'm thinking of, at least right now.
Sure.
Not right now.
I appreciate the feedback because it is like a tall order, honestly. It's leading up to seasons. I mean, if there was a coach in here that could vouch for how often I'm nagging coaches and, So I think when I do the evaluations at the end of the season, I put all the expiration dates on there so coaches know that what's going to expire between now and when they coach again. And then multiple reminders as the season comes up. So I do have a spreadsheet, and I like highlight, every expiring certification. So when I get to the next season, I know all the ones that are not. And then I miss some sometimes, like that I didn't highlight or whatever. And so I do make sure I go back through and make sure all the dates say 2027 or 2028, and I'm not worried about anything expiring this year.
Well, just tell them they won't make a board agenda if they're not certified to get approved.
I mean, I think, but the question is tracking, and I think that we've, definitely heard that, Dave, Carrie, and Doug have come up with a system that makes, provide the tool, in this case, the athletic director to do her job. Because if the tools out there are not good, as you guys know, you can't do it. So I think, you guys have to come up with some sort of tool that makes this process a little less human-based, is what I think Keith is saying. That maybe it'll flag up, like, in 90 days, this person's gonna be due. So somehow, the athletic director will know that. Because like Keith's right, they have to go through, it just seems like it's impossible, no one can do it.
Yeah, and yeah, that's true, and then I want to touch on one more thing. If you go back one more slide, you had mentioned current practices. I would just question, is that a practice or is that a process? Which one is it? Because if it's not a process, I would encourage a process, not a practice. Meaning I have a work instruction that says, here are the 5 steps we do, here's the check boxes that we go through. I mean, if you have that much rigor on keeping manual certifications in everybody, I would expect a process that would follow it to make sure that we're not missing anything.
Yeah, and I think this is intentionally said practice because it's really trying to drive to the last one about the limitation of the volunteers, that by our practice of having these volunteers not have certification, they can't be off by themselves coaching kids. It limits our coaches and it limits our volunteers of what they can do, because if I'm the coach and Jim's my volunteer, I have to watch what he's doing plus watch the kids. And that's what I think she's going to get into.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'll let you keep going.
All right, I think this is where I was. Yeah, okay.
So we're back to practice.
Okay, so just some, I guess, additional kind of concerns, pros, cons here. I believe, and I guess this comes along with my recommendation moving forward, I believe that a lot of our volunteers are acting in more of a pseudo-coaching role. I think we've got larger teams now, and our certified coaches are looking for more help out on the field. And so they're trying their best to get more people to help. So we've got more volunteers on the field, and therefore, in a case where like maybe we're out on a field and we've got two different offense and defense working at different ends of the field, and maybe the certified coach can't be at both ends at the same time, right? And therefore, I believe it makes it harder for our head coaches to be able to supervise these people at all times. We already talked about liability a little bit, but if that is the case and that is happening, then we are at a risk for increased liability if somebody were to get injured or something were to happen, and we're going to be asked for certifications for the adults out on the fields. I think that if our volunteers are certified, it eases the burden of our head coaches, and as it is now, it, like Mr. Schofield was saying, it puts an extra task on our head coaches to be able to supervise the kids, but also the volunteers that are out there. And at this point, these volunteers are being board approved, but they don't have fingerprints. So we're board approving them with a resume only at this point.
Do you keep fingerprints on file too?
No, not for the volunteers.
Okay, just a question.
And the reason you don't have to for the volunteers is because they're supposed to be directly supervised at all times.
Correct. Yep.
But they do have background check.
No, they
I'm
would
not tracking them.
Because they're not, the fingerprinting is the background check.
So why would we not have our volunteers be background checked if they're gonna be around kids?
I think when you get to the next
This is where we're
slide, you're gonna,
recommending to
yeah.
move that. No, it's a good thought. That's the same thought Carrie had, so you're on the same page.
So I think, with moving forward in the right direction, some of the challenges that we're going to hear from our coaches is that it's a hefty cost to get certified. I try to outline the best I can, depending on where you take these courses. It can the cost can fluctuate a little bit. A lot of our coaches take some of these classes through Genesee Valley BOCES because they're offered every day. You just sign up and take the course. But Erie 2 BOCES only offers them once a month, which really puts us at a tough time getting coaches certified in a timely fashion if they have to wait till January 15th to take a course. So, but it's more expensive to take it at Genesee Valley BOCES than it is at Erie 2. So that's why you see a little bit of a fluctuation in the cost there. But a fingerprint is roughly $100, maybe a little bit more. It's a $50 application that's every year for your coaching license on Teach. They have to have those 3 courses, DASA, SAVE, and Child Abuse. The 3 courses together cost anywhere between $129 and $220. CPR, AED, and first aid courses are required, and those are anywhere between $90 and $180, just depending on who you take it with. And then the additional coursework. There's 2 options, 2 different pathways for getting your coaching coursework. One of them is a bunch of different smaller courses that you take online. They're like $20 here, $30 there, probably totals $100 for each one of those 3 coaching courses. The other option or pathway, there's 3 classes, philosophies, theories and techniques, and health sciences, I believe they're called. Those are each about $200 a course. So the nice thing about the additional coursework is it can be spread out over 5 years, but it does cost a lot of money. And my next little paragraph there is that I think our coaches believe that the reason they can get volunteers is because it doesn't cost them anything. And since they're not getting paid, it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't have to pay to help out. But if we either eliminate volunteers or we force them to have to be coaching certified, I think this is going to increase their efforts to lobby for more paid positions, which would also become a financial strain on the district, which is something that many of our coaches have been asking for throughout the years that I've been here. Okay, the last slide I have for you is essentially my recommendation, just based on our NISFA and New York State mandates. I think we should treat all of our volunteers the same as our paid coaches and require full coaching certification. I understand that we have a lot of roadblocks in the way to make that happen. And so I think that it's a very important discussion to have to possibly pay for some of these certifications, maybe with a longevity plan that allows a reimbursement if they stick around, you know what I mean? Because that's one thing, we have a lot of turnover with our volunteers. The volunteers we have this year are totally different next year. And if we pay up front, they could leave immediately, but if we had some sort of process to reimburse coaches for sticking around, and then hopefully maybe turning into...
Volunteers.
Volunteers.
You said coaches,
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
volunteers to sit around.
I'm sorry, I'm jumbling my words,
That's
I
different.
apologize. And then hopefully maybe some of these volunteers, because it is a struggle now to get coaches, maybe we can turn some of these volunteers into paid coaching positions down the road, which would be a lot easier if we have them certified in the first place.
I just, speaking just for myself right now, and having two children who played extensively sports here at Iroquois, and now, continue in college, I am agreeing with the athletic director. I firmly believe that our volunteer coaches should be fully certified like our regular coaches because they're on the field and they're an adult or a leader on the field. They have the responsibility. Whether, we say that they can't, be alone or not, it doesn't matter. The kids are going to look to them. The parents are going to look to them. I think they should be certified. And I also believe that, and you guys hear me all the time, talking about, expenditures and tightening our belt, but I think this is something the district has to bear the responsibility for our volunteer coaches. It's very odd to tell someone, hey, come and volunteer for us, give your time, and oh, by the way, we're going to charge you to do it. I just think it doesn't make any sense. I think so, first of all, I think it's important that they're certified for the safety of the children and the integrity of the program, for the administration and all the kids and all of us. And I really strongly believe that the district should, pay for their certifications if they're volunteering for us. Even at, I work with, Bob at EMW, even there, the Little Loop organizations paid for all these volunteers. And it's just, to Heather's point, if they're gonna be alone with the kids, I think we all wanna have them background checked, even if they're at the other end of the field. I wanna hear from the rest of my board members, but I really agree with the athletic director's recommendation on this.
Yeah, outside of everything that Jim said, I echo that from some logic and reason, and I've got kids actively in sports as well. Questions I have, though, are more like, what is your gap analysis? What do you need? What is the cost? All you've really identified is, hey, volunteers, and this is the cost. But what I have no idea on is, what is the gap analysis across the board? What are you looking at for 2027? What would it cost us to stand up that and support it? And then ultimately, what is the program you're trying to develop to transition volunteers into coaches?
Sure.
To me, it's a much larger ask than, hey, by the way, cover this. If you're gonna ask for monies, I wanna make sure that that has a program tied to it that walks into some other opportunities for retention.
Yeah.
And I think if we have that and we understand some of the economics that go with it, some of the initiatives, and then also what the real gap is, we can then make decisions. But fundamentally, I agree with Jim. I want my kids around certified folks that if there's an issue or an event happens, they're protected, right? That's part of it. But on the other side of it, we have to look at the fiscal side.
So to answer some of those questions right away, we have 34, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, we have 34 coaches. We estimate because it's over up to 5 years, about $500 a year, so we're saying it's about $17,000 to accomplish going fully to coaches. We also had a discussion when we looked at the coaches and we broke it down. You have...
You're talking coaches and volunteer coaches, yes?
No, just...
I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. Keep correcting me.
No,
We're only talking volunteers. We're only talking volunteer coaches. Volunteers, yeah. We have, so I'll start from the beginning. We have 34 volunteers in all the sports. So with that, to go for the volunteers, to get the certifications on the last slide, that we would say the volunteers would need, would be roughly $17,000. Give or take a little bit, because depending on where they are, because some of them are teachers, might have some of the fingerprinting and that done already, other ones are not. And then you don't have to get everything the first year, you have a 2 and 5 year gap in there. That's how we come up with the $17,000. We would expect annually would be pretty much out each year, because we have a lot of people coming and going. So for example, we have 2 people with 25 plus years, 2 people with 5 years, 2 people with 4 years, 4 people with 3, 4 with 2 years, and 20 people with 1 year. So because there's such a high group at the 1 year, that's why we're keeping that number high as an annual cost.
Right, for turnover.
Yep, for turnover. Although we would like to see a longevity and even a plan of where they can move into coaches as coaches retire and move out.
Correct.
So in talking this, where she has alternative practices, would be, how do you phase this in right? We agree with what Heather said, that if you go back to the last slide, and jump in anytime you want if you feel I'm taking
That's
over.
okay.
The fingerprints, we should do that for everybody, starting right away. That's $100 that we would pay out. The other one we think start right away, CPR, AED,
Yes,
because those are both health and safety.
yes.
And
Then
that's
we start,
annually? Is that annually?
it depends on the CPR,
Years.
AED,
Every 2
because that's every 2 years, and the fingerprinting is once in your life. So if we have 20 people that are 1 year, and if every year we have 20 new people, but the person who's 25 plus, we've been good for 25 years.
And the child abuse thing, is that annually or one time?
That's a one-time, correct? Ask to save, child abuse is all one time.
Yep.
So as they get this work done, we could give, better updates, but we're sticking with a lot of turnover continually of where they would do it. So going forward, we would want anyone coming on, if the board wanted to go everyone all in, the problem is some of these 25-year plus people, they're very good coaches. I want it safe. They've shown their skills over 25 years because they've been supervised. Phase them in, but do the other people first. So I would say continue how we are for the spring, too quick a change, too fast, starting in the fall, and her recommendation's there, so Carrie might have a different view. Start phasing in, but anyone new, we need to get you through all the stuff.
I mean, and just to ask Heather, before I go.
Yeah, so everyone would have to have the fingerprinting AED, and then we'd have the other group for like the certifications and save. We'd be phasing those in, but new people would be having to get those much faster than a more senior person. That's where we'd be looking at those as a phase-in. Because again, you've shown dedication, but we still think we need to get there. But I think the CPR, AED, fingerprinting, because that's health and safety, should be done immediately, right away for everybody. The other ones, then, we could come in with a plan of how we're going to phase it in after that.
Let me just ask my fellow board member.
I'm sorry, unless the board wanted everything right away.
Well, no, I think this is pretty simple. Let me just ask my fellow board members, so we're not talking hypothetically. I'm still pretty much where I started, but why don't we do this? I think the board generally agrees that this whole process is important. So why don't we have the administration do two things? One, do an actual workable plan with real numbers, doing everything. We know we're not doing it for the spring. That's now. For the fall, what it would be to be all in and how you would implement that, and what would be, what would a phased approach look at, and how would that work, and how would that be implemented with the difference in costs? Instead of talking about the hypothetical, that way we have the real numbers.
So I'll ask it a little differently. I'd like to see a model across the board of what your recommendation is, right? I mean, there's only one model. It's do the right thing. I'd like to see a model of phasing that in. To Jim's point.
To get to the right thing.
To get to the right point.
See both ways, right?
To see it, well, you'll see that in the model.
Yeah.
Right? So modeling it is where it is, but you also have to make assumptions in the model that you have retention. What does that cost out? What's that look like to retain? What's that program look like? Sort of answering the bigger questions of, if we do this for volunteers, the interest is to more build a program. What does that look like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? And ultimately, it should incur, more retention for the coaches, and then volunteers maybe becoming coaches. And so the 20 that are new with the year, we may only get 5 5 at the 1 year term.
Right.
And that's the turnover, right? But I'd like to see a few different models that say, here's what we would look like with high turnover, here's what we'd look like with more retention, here's what it would cost to be able to do all the certifications, because all the certifications, as you say, don't hit every year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have X number of people, you got to model out the number of people and the cost based on that.
And with that model, I want the board, first of all, is my fellow board members okay with putting the administration together?
Yes, but background checks, I think, should be done right
Well,
now.
I think we
No,
will.
like, no discussion, like, right now. We give volunteers badges, we let them into our school district, and the background checks, I feel, need to be done now. All these other certificate, like AED and CPR, yes, it would be great. First aid,
It's
absolutely.
extremely important, yeah.
But there's a head coach, there's an assistant coach, so we can look at the cost estimates of that. But if we're letting people into our building and giving them a badge and they're being around
So
kids,
just to clarify, you're saying that,
the
like,
background checks
right now, you're not
should be
saying,
right now.
like, tomorrow type of thing? That's
Like
what you're
tomorrow.
saying? Okay.
Yeah, like this spring season, people should be getting, and I'm looking at Chad, who's probably thinking,
That'd
good
be
grief, why?
And just to give you an estimate cost on that, that'd be roughly $1,100 if we were to pay for the fingerprint, because I'm just looking at lacrosse, baseball, softball, and track. Am I missing any fall sport? What's that?
Spring sport.
Lacrosse, baseball, softball, track.
Tennis, no. Yep, that sounds right.
Okay, so let me just rephrase that. We'll move ahead with the background checks and fingerprints, like, as soon as possible, and then we want to see a model of it both ways for the fall. And the one thing I just want to keep in mind is I think these coaches are, because you guys know, I've been heavily involved with athletics here, as a lot of you are, and the volunteers are crucial. If you just took the number of 34 volunteers, is that right, Carrie?
Yep.
And I just picked a random number in between, if you were to replace them all with paid coaches, and just pick a random number at $3,000, that'd be $102,000 every single year. So the cost to background check and train these people and certify them are way less than that. And what it does for our kids and their safety is immensely, because, yes, I agree with you, Heather, but the same thing, if a child passes out on the floor, I'm going to want everyone there to know how to do the CPR, to know how to do the AED, and it's to recognize, because I remember, I just remember taking it with you, Bob, to recognize the signs of child abuse. It's that it happens, and coaches catch a lot of that when they're trained. They really do, and I think anyone in the school will tell you that some of the closest relationships are between the athlete and the coach. That's what they confide in, that's what they trust in. So I just think it's a huge piece that we have to support.
So I'm good with everything except as soon as possible. I really need a date. Like,
Well, we're talking about just
No, just the
for the fingerprints.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave here saying
Okay.
as soon as possible. Like, give me a date. What's the date? Because at the end of the day, people are going to look at this and say, well, they said as soon as possible.
Good point.
That's
No, you gotta quantify it, absolutely.
Are you, so just to clarify, are you asking a date for the current volunteers to get their fingerprints?
For clarity,
Or-
current volunteers that are on spring sports, which are 11, as Doug mentioned, as far as I can tell. That's
Yeah.
the math I did. There's 11 volunteers. What would the date be to get all of them processed for background checks?
Well, it would, so usually the appointments are at least a couple weeks out, I think, right? Is that accurate?
No, we could get them in pretty quick. The nice part is the fingerprints turn around usually within a day to get them back. So, but scheduling that many, it could take a week or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this is March, I would say by April 1st.
Yeah, by the end of the month.
Because you also have to think of,
So
someone
2 weeks.
going away, someone on vacation,
So 2 weeks.
just individuals, people, so 2 weeks would be.
And we could, if we have people that stall or procrastinate or don't do it, we could just say, you can't go back, take the field again until you have this complete.
Yeah, I agree with
2
that.
weeks.
I do
Yeah.
think it is that important, and I do agree with Heather's point of view, like, it is that important. And, this is the first step. It's minimal money, but I also can't just say as soon as possible. So
Yeah,
Right.
I like that.
I'll,
2 weeks, I think, is fair
2 weeks.
and I'm thinking of the people and their time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking the date. I'm
Yeah,
not
they
saying.
have jobs and,
Agree.
I think
Whatever.
that's reasonable.
Okay.
the other one I want to put on there as the parameters we're putting this together is, the way we've been doing it, it's basically like, how many coaches do you want for football? Or how many I did it again. How many volunteers do you want for football? Do you want a limit on the numbers for the different sports? Because if you don't put a limit, I don't know,
Could that be part of the plan that we put together? Because,
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
because-
okay. So we're building a limit
yeah.
for you guys to review.
Yeah, and then if if they want additional volunteers beyond our district limit, that wouldn't necessarily be something we would say no to. It just means they'd have to get certified on their own.
Correct.
And I would encourage you in your model to build in, what is a realistic,
Yeah.
what the coaches are gonna need.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking a ratio, but
Well, we can kind of see what they're using now, what they've been using. And so if we go from the 34 number and just make sure it's equitable,
But if you have a team that has 7 kids on it, and you have 5 volunteers, as opposed to lacrosse, it's 43 kids, and you have 2 volunteers.
correct.
that's part, in my view, that's what I would see in the model.
Yeah, that's what we'll see, and that's what we'll put in the
It would be broken
model.
down by sport, by coach, by number of players, and what type of volunteers are there for the sport. I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of the detail model that I would expect. It
Yeah.
better not be like 3 lines and we need
Yeah.
volunteers here, so.
Sure.
More than happy to review it, just is important as we're planning. I'd really like to see this as a program versus just a spend. Not that I'm not against it.
Oh, no,
I
we
think
get
it's
it. We just want to
important.
make sure that we've been doing this traditionally so long this other way, we had to make sure the board wanted to
Yeah.
modify our current practice.
I can tell by the looks of everyone's face and nodding their heads that we are all definitely in favor of this.
So I know for EMW, which I know we're all familiar with, like the baseball coaches have to get background checks, but they just do it online as opposed to which I just had to actually Google the difference between an online background check and physical fingerprint. Is there any reason why we couldn't just do an online? It's cheaper
State regulation. For a school, we have to do the fingerprint.
for an employee. though,
For
right?
this, no, if you go back a few slides, that's the requirement for
Well, if it's a
a
requirement,
paid
why are we
or
not
volunteer.
doing it already then?
Because there's also a loophole that as long as they're sitting next to someone who is fingerprinted, you don't have to be. This is the way that's been established and set. I mean, I've been here a long time, and long before my time, it's never changed when the fingerprinting came in.
Okay.
And
All right.
And this is one good thing about having a full-time AD, pulling these things forward and saying, hey, here's the dirt under the rug.
And I was just, and not in a platitude sense, but I think the board agrees, Carrie, thank you for bringing this to our attention and letting us, weigh in on this. I think it's that important, so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I thank everybody for your feedback because like I said, it is a tall order and I think there's a lot of moving parts with doing it, and even timing out everything kind of appropriately with, the start of the season, but also the posting of the jobs and, it gets a little complicated when you're struggling to fill jobs like last minute and then you fill it with somebody who's not certified, right? And then so there's no perfect system, but I think that we can come up with a plan that makes most sense. But like you said, there's going to be probably a lot of factors that might not be 100% true throughout, how the plan is implemented.
Yeah, and as you build that, you should build in assumptions,
Yeah.
right? That's part of a model, right? Build in the assumptions and say, here's what I'm assuming. You start moving some numbers around. Here's our cap. Here's the number. Here's the ratio. This is what we're gonna stick with.
Assume
and failure.
10% retention at each
Exactly.
year and go forward.
Right.
Yeah, it's everything, just don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Is that something that our officer will set up? As far as let's say
Can they fingerprint? And I'm just.
on March
Well, the SROs can fingerprint, they have great practice at it.
town hall, we're gonna have fingerprinting session at the high school cafeteria. I don't know, I'm just saying, is that something that we could?
There's
No, we
certain
gotta-
locations you have to, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a step-by-step process form that we give everybody that they gotta set it up and go and do it. It's, yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
It's the same people that do guns and all that.
Yeah, but there is, some of our coaches in the past have gotten fingerprinting or whatever from like EMW, and we've needed them to go the route of scheduling an appropriate fingerprinting, right?
Right, people will come in and they'll say, oh, I was already certified, I worked at a daycare, but it's a higher bar that's set to work in public education.
And that makes sense. If there's already an established practice or procedure.
So last request, you
Sure, go.
talked about practice. I'd like to also see the process.
Yeah.
Right? So if we're going to go through this, I'm gonna see a written process of what you follow.
Yeah.
And I think the last action item is the database for training and certifications. Not something we can solve now, but I think it is
Sure.
important. I do want to thank you, and I apologize for maybe some of my questions, but I
No,
try to.
do you want to come work in my office? I could use your help.
I was just gonna say, Carrie, that when it
You
comes
want to
to,
volunteer in the athletic office?
You gotta get fingerprinted.
I was gonna say that when it comes to some of these procedures, Keith is an awesome resource. It's really his wheelhouse to tap.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Now we'll hear from our SRO, Chad Berry, who's gonna be busy fingerprinting people.
Good evening.
Oh, by the way, Carrie used up most of your time.
You know, mine's actually pretty short. It's definitely not quite
No,
as
I'm
lengthy as
teasing.
Gary's.
Take as long as you need.
But I really do appreciate what she presented to the board tonight from the safety side. I know, Heather, I think you brought it up. I love the idea, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and it is something that should be implemented, obviously, policy, procedure, financials, all that, but I'm definitely in support of the idea. I'm here tonight, though, I guess, to speak about vaping in our high school bathrooms. I wish I could stay in here and tell you that it's gone or it's eliminated, but I can't, right? It's still here, it still exists. Youth nicotine addiction in America, it's a real problem. Happens here in our school as well. I want to say the last time I presented here, I think our numbers were between 80 and 100 alerts a day, and then I spoke about how one vape in a bathroom, how that vape cloud could go off, hit the vape detector, and then at that point, it has to meet a minimum threshold, so that vape may send out 1, 2, 3, sometimes up to 4 alerts before that number drops below that minimum threshold. So at the time, we were roughly around 80 to 100 alerts a day. I'd say recently, and over the last few weeks, I've seen the lowest yet. Monday, we had 4 total alerts all day. Today, we had 9. Yesterday, we had, I think, somewhere a little bit less. Last week, I think we had as high as 12. On average, we are far below where we have been. So that's all good. It's great news. It's not totally gone. I don't know if we'll ever totally eliminate it, but I think the numbers we see are
Lower but not acceptable.
borderline being, we obviously don't want any, but I think we're happy seeing these numbers really dropping the way they are. And I think some of that improvement comes from a combination of strategies. So we have vape detectors in the bathroom. When it goes off, it goes to our phones, goes to our watch, goes to our email, whatever administrators we have set up. So we use between the phone alerts, using our cameras in the hallway, trying to go back on emails, monitor the camera, let's look at the time, let's look at the bathroom. Then we can kind of backtrack activity in and out of the bathroom, who is in there, try and find repeat offenders. And then at that point, that's we go to admin. We've went and talked to kids, got them out of classrooms, maybe checked their lockers, found vapes on them. I think sometimes having our staff has been really good this year, having our staff posted outside the bathrooms. Some days, if we have a bathroom we're getting more alerts out of, maintenance has been really good. Like, hey, we'll go see them, they'll close that bathroom down, and then we maybe funnel to where we can have more staff monitoring the bathrooms. We do a lot of random checks in and out of the bathrooms, and it's not just for vaping. That's also hangout areas where the kids call it camping. They try and skip class, go hang in the bathroom. So we do go in there and try and reduce any type of vandalism, graffiti, fighting, bullying, whatever else might be going on. I think one thing we do here that's kind of unique at Iroquois versus maybe some other schools, we spend a lot of time not just trying to catch kids and punish, we try and educate them. We try and reduce suspension time. First offense might be 3 days, but are we really doing the kid a benefit? Why don't we try and educate them on the effects of vaping and what you're really putting in your body? So we use a national recognized program called Catch My Breath. We focus on the education, intervention, and we really try and push that it's not just punishment. These programs help educate the students on the dangers of vaping while reducing suspension time, then we try and get them back in the class. Beyond that, we use Savor. So that is offered by Horizons. So we actually have a Horizon certified counselor. They come in, it's set up with the parents so that both the parents and the student have to be in agreement. It's held here in privacy in the building, and they run them through their program. We've Our counselors and our social workers have been great. They work with these students as well. They've also reached out to outside resources. So I think between all the different steps that we're trying to do, and then kids escaping drugs, maybe some outside resources, I think we're really starting to see a change, right? So I think the goal of both programs is to change behavior, not just punish, and not just to try and punish them, but we want to educate them and try and get them back into class.
So Chad, I have a question.
Yeah.
So if somebody's perceived as being into the bathroom vaping, and they put their vape somewhere on their body that you maybe down their shirt, their pants, so that you can't see it, like, what's your defense to try to articulate if that was the person that was vaping, and that they need help?
That is a problem we do run into, right? So it doesn't happen that often. Most of the time, we can get the student in the office, we can sit, we can talk to them, we can go over camera. You were the only one in there, there's no one in there 10 minutes before you, the alarm went off 3 times while you're in the bathroom, you're obviously in there vaping, they're like, here, and most of the time, they will pull it out.
Okay.
We did recently get a metal detector. We haven't utilized it yet, still working on training policy procedure, but however, since we've had it, we haven't even had that need, which is good news. And we typically try not to talk to kids unless we're 100% certain. If there's any air of doubt, we're not gonna go pull students from the bathroom. But you know where we run into a hard time sometimes is during class change. You might have 5, 6, 7 kids go in the bathroom. They're in, they're out, they have 4 minutes, they're trying to get out. Somebody might vape, they leave, and we know the bathroom, some of the alerts are delayed. It's just the technology in the building. Some are much faster, some might be a minute and a half later. So these are all different things we have to try and watch. We look at traffic kind of going in and out, like we go back and we review. Sometimes it does get pretty tricky, but overall, we've seen our numbers drastically decline. I think a lot of that is just us being outside the bathrooms or just random sweep. Hey, come on, let's go get to class. Random sweeps in and out of the bathrooms. We don't stay in there and hang out. It's just real quick in out. Make sure that they're not grouping, doing anything. We've walked in. We've caught kids vaping right when you walk in. So.
Yeah, I mean,
it is getting better. We're happy to see our numbers way down. I wish I could stand here and tell you it's 0, but we're
that's
still
good
getting
news
some.
that it is coming down. I just think that all of our high school students should feel comfortable utilizing the facilities without feeling like guilt by association, just I happen to be in there, and everyone should feel safe in the bathrooms.
And they should. And we've had
sweeping through.
Students come up to us that have literally said, "I'll go all day and not go to the bathroom because I don't want to go in there and I don't want to get caught. Even if I didn't vape, I don't want somebody coming after me like, hey, you're in there vaping." So we really try and be very careful on when we go talk to students to make sure that, sorry, got a little gnat flying around me. make sure that we're talking to the right student, without being accusatory if somebody else was in there. With that comes notifying the parents and all the other process, but we've been seeing really good success. I haven't had as many students come up to me this year. I feel like our bathrooms are better. I'm not going to try and tell you that they're perfect, but they're far better than they have been. And I think our numbers show that.
Another interesting one Chad told me the other day was, we used to get a lot of repeat offenders. We don't see the repeat offenders. It's original people who might be trying it for the first time or trying to get away. People are recognizing that this is not the place to do it. As a majority, we still have a minority that unfortunately don't quite get the message until they're talked to.
Chad?
Yeah.
She's going to need a mic over there so people can hear.
It is, so. Go ahead. Yeah, so she just said she's heard a lot of good things about Catch My Breath, and it's a one-on-one program. In either myself or the other SRO, Alex Ray, we sit, and I have to say, some of the best interactions I've had with these students, like the most honest, open conversations I've had this year, has been during these programs. it's made, like, they will just open up to you, but you get to see maybe where they're coming from. In some households, it's okay to vape. They can sit around the house, they can vape, parents are not condoning it, or they're condoning it, like, if you want to vape, vape, like, I can't stop you. So they're like, I can vape at home, I can vape in my car, I can vape everywhere else, but I come to school, like, I crave it. So you talk about the whole dopamine cycle. So they start getting this rush, like, oh my God, like, they're getting antsy, starting to feel almost like anxiety. They have to go vape just to hit that dopamine cycle, just to calm back down. Another half hour later, they're starting to get it. So it's almost every period, they're trying to find somewhere to vape. And some of it's really been enlightening, like when you sit in this class and you talk to the students, the one-on-one, you kind of get to see both sides. And I will say, like, when we tell them, like, some of the metals and the toxins and the stuff that you're putting into their body, they're like, oh my God, like, I never heard that, or I never thought about that. Or you talk about, like, the milligrams of nicotine on the package, because it's not regulated that well. So the milligrams of nicotine might show like 15 or 20, when in fact, when they actually go back and test it, it might be like 80. So some of these kids are hitting the vape a few times and are taking as much nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. So they're getting so addicted at a young age, and at the worst time when you're looking at brain development and everything else at this age. So I think it's been a really good combined effort at the school. One, getting the board and getting everyone on board, getting the vape detectors, but also having our administrators and our counselors, our social workers, our teachers who are helping us outside the bathrooms monitor, or bringing kids, like, hey, I found 2 kids in a stall, they bring them right down. And then also, I don't want to forget our bus drivers. Our bus drivers are reporting, hey, I thought I smelled vape on the bus garage is great, they send the video over, we have really good cameras on the bus, we're able to track down who's vaping and be able to address that as well.
Chad,
Just have one more question on the program. Is there any opportunity to expand that at all? I know it's a one-on-one program, and that's pretty effective with working with the kids and educating them, but offering, and it's typically if there was a vaping issue already at the school, but is there an opportunity to do that with kids just in an education sense and maybe at the middle school level?
So we have had middle school students sent up here for it, like we'll run them through it if they're caught. But I think maybe what you're saying is it's something we could offer, like maybe during a health class.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
I kind of, because I've been asking this for a while, and I want to ask you, and I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you just said. I really, it's not just I want to ask, I really believe it, that, I think, you guys, SROs, do an amazing job, and one of the things that I'm very proud of is the creation of the program here at the school, but a lot of times you're reacting because it's what you have to do. What I would like to see is, like, maybe in the different schools, actual assemblies, like even when doctors and everyone come in and talk to the students and explain to all the students why it's not good for you, what it really does to your body, lets people know what the resources are. I think investing that time or that investment would be great. And it's not an amazing idea. I just remember that many years ago when I was going through school, that's what they did with smoking. They had doctors come in from Roswell, they had police officers, and they really said, this really is what happens when you smoke a cigarette. And by the time that, our kids, got into school, it was almost completely, cigarette smoking was only completely wiped out.
Right.
And I think that, vaping is the new cigarettes, but you guys do what you can do, and I think it's great, but I think it's that education and giving the students that information from SROs, from police officers, from doctors, and from other students, maybe who have been on vapes and have got off them, to just let the students know, this is what happens to you, this is what happens to your body, and those stories make a big difference. So what I'm saying, if that type of an assembly program existed, do you think that would help?
You know what, I really do, and I'm just going to write a note on that too. So I know we've worked with ITAC in the past, or still currently, I should say. ITAC's really good about if we find a good speaker, we want to get a speaker to be able to come in on that.
And I'm sure people from, doctors from Roswell will do that. Right. And I know there's always young people who have, experienced it, who are willing to come in and share their stories. And I think that those type of people hit hard with students. And I think that would go through a long distance.
Right.
Because I know a lot of students really really believe that it's not gonna hurt them. And we're just trying to enforce a rule.
Right.
And it's more than that in this case.
I do think the reason why that program's effective, though, is because of the one-on-one and the small group.
I think you do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the assembly is always
I don't think
keeps the attention
Right.
of kids.
I don't think one replaces the other one.
Yeah.
And I'd hope to be able to maybe like get in health classes, or if we can have speakers come in. But one of the biggest things I really do like about the Catch My Breath program is that one-on-one time. Some of the kids that we deal with repeat times, multiple times, maybe not just vaping, just with whatever issues, but we get them in that class with us, and we start talking, and it's a dialogue back and forth. And I left there like, I had some of my best interactions with the student all year was in that class. And it seems like we develop a little bit more of a bond, like they start talking to us a little bit more, and it's like the relationships you want to try and build while you're trying to educate them and teach them the harmful effects of vaping.
And parents, even if a student wasn't caught in school, or they have the opportunity to contact the school
We have done that a few times too. We've had kids or parents reach out like, hey, any chance can run my kid through it, and we do everything we can to try and accommodate them. Looking at study halls, open periods, we got to stay after. Like we really do try and accommodate as many kids as possible.
And it's not just nicotine either.
And I got to say, that's something that we took on upon ourselves. Like I have other SROs who work for me in other buildings, and they're not doing any of that. Like a lot of things that we do, it's just initially, like when I was here and saw the vaping problem and the suspension, and then we started talking a little bit more about it, and then we started looking into it. I'm like, I wonder if we could start a program. And I was lucky that the administration in the high school was willing and supportive. It really backs us on it. Now it's become part of their disciplinary.
And is this Catch My Breath program also in the middle school? Because I think vaping is also a problem in the middle school level.
Yes.
So it is currently?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in middle school and high school? Okay, thanks.
They come up, they get referred
They
up
do.
to the high school.
So Aaron Quado has run it over there, but a lot of times now, like we have a room that works out well for us. So Aaron will reach out like, hey, are you guys available to run a class? Like, yep. So Aaron will walk up with them, and we'll sit and run through the class.
And the vape sensors, I know there was a presentation, probably going back over a year. When we just got it. It's detecting everything in the vape sensors.
It is. So even if a student tries to mask it, it'll still pick up the vapor. It'll still pick up THC, cigarette smoke, but other things too. They're beneficial to carbon monoxide. Like they're continuously checking the air. Heat, fire, certain words. If somebody's screaming help, call 911. It will pick up certain words.
I know there was some question on sensitivity with them, and there was some adjustment made.
There was. So we were having, when, like say announcements come on, I think just like from, depending who's talking it, if they're a little bit more of a loud talker, that deeper voice with the bass, like just a little like reverberation, like it was setting off like tamper alarms in the bathroom. But we noticed it was like every time the bell rang, so some of them we did have to move a little bit or adjust the settings on it.
Just real quick, I just looked, Roswell Park does have, for kids, sensation services that they do offer. So I'm sure they'd have people who would come and speak at a school. They've got a whole list of stuff they do, but yeah, that would be
We
a
actually
resource.
just sat through a meeting. It's a company called Playbol, I believe Playbol. We just sat through a meeting. I sat on it maybe a month ago, then again a couple weeks ago, and I know Allie from ITAC just had a meeting with them the other day. Just a different company we were looking at, but then it comes with a cost. She was considering covering that cost if we liked it. But the only problem is, I feel like we're taking away that one-on-one, that connection. It's really I don't want to say like a plug and play, like we can monitor, but they really just log in, they watch it. We just get notifications that, yes, they've completed it, or they're halfway through.
I think Jim meant for the speaker coming in.
Yeah, I meant for the speaker. Just so we're tackling that on the macro level and then on the one-on-one micro level.
Like where I was getting at, like we're always trying to look at different ways to improve. I'm not sure if Playbol was maybe the best way to improve, but I do want to talk to Allie and see like, hey, can we try and coordinate something? We'd have to coordinate it with the school to get in for some type of assembly time, or what time would work the best. we do it for other things. We always do like our pre-prom assembly, which I'm in the process of planning now, where the helicopter comes, we stage the accident, we talk drinking and driving, we have the state police come in. We always set that up like the week of prom. Or we were just in every health class on Monday, and we had the drunk goggles on, we had the carts, we ran them through different courses, we ran them through field sobriety tests. I think we taught 6 or 7 classes that day. So we're always trying.
That stuff does work.
And I think there is ways to be able to incorporate that somewhere in the school day where we can get a speaker to be able to come in and kind of support everything that we're trying to educate them on. So I will definitely look into that.
So I got a quick question.
Yeah.
You've talked about a lot of the good stuff that you're doing. I really appreciate it. The question I really have is, what are the emergent signs that you're seeing that are not really talked about? Right? Meaning like, hey, I'm noticing a couple things, and I don't know if you can share, I don't mean to really put you on the spot, but, we talk about vaping, we talk about all the good stuff we're doing, but as society evolves, I want to make sure we have our finger on the pulse of, I'm going to call it what's next.
Yeah, the new problem.
Exactly, because the minute that we think we have something fixed, right, where our vaping rates go down, they're never going to be zero. I just don't believe that, but it'll be to a point that's maintainable. My bigger question is there something you're seeing out there now that maybe keeps you up at night, or something that like we should be looking at, and not to put fear into the community? That's not what I'm asking for. What I'm asking for is that you're preemptively thinking through kind of what's out there.
I know one ingestible thing that's out there right now is all the edibles, right? And some of these edibles are synthetic, and they're having horrible effects on the kids. And I'm not always just saying within our building, but we just had we just had one of my SROs who works in a different school. Student went unresponsive, first aid, CPR, the whole 9 yards, and it was a synthetic edible. And that's, I know we've run into that in the past, different edibles and marijuana, THC, and they come in at many different levels, and depending how strong they are, then not everyone reacts the same. I mean, to me, that's alarming. It's not like what we faced 10, 12 years ago where heroin, and I'm not saying in Iroquois, in Erie County in general, was a problem, right? I probably Narcan 15, 20 people like during that time myself. You never know exactly what's coming next, but I think probably one of the bigger things you do see emerging right now is the edibles.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great call out, because not on the political side of it, but I think when we move to make marijuana illegal, to young people, you're almost saying it's safe.
Right. And
it's not the truth. They should at least understand.
Well, it's not. So you raise the age, right? So it's no longer like we can't get our hooks on the kids when they were younger, right? If they're 15 or 16, 17, they come to school with marijuana, edibles, anything like that. We used to at least, you could arrest them. There would be an appearance ticket. You could work with the court. You could send them to kids escaping drugs. That's hard now. You have raised the age. Everything's been so decriminalized. Like, it ties our hands here at many different levels.
When you make something legal, I mean, the message is it's safe, and it's not. Right. I mean, that's a different argument, but it's, I think students, that's what they hear.
Right.
When you say this is now legal.
Now you see dispensaries all over the place, and so that is going to become a problem.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I just want to make one more comment, and it's more towards the community or those that may be listening. It's the fact that, this becomes a bit of a gray area or a transition of home life in school. And I believe strongly that Iroquois as a district is doing everything they can within their ability and power to educate, mitigate. However, there is responsibility to parents and community to help come alongside. And I really think that this is societal. This isn't just a quick flash in the pan. And
right.
I want to make sure, that you have your finger on the pulse, but also we're looking at it in that way. But I would also challenge the community and those out there saying, hey, there's some responsibility across the board. It's not just at the school level because the kids are there, but it's outside. And we really want to create an environment for the kids that can learn and flourish. But there's some responsibility on the other side of the fence. As a parent, I know that myself. But I do think you're doing a great job, and I appreciate the.
Well, thank you,
the
and I do totally agree with you on that, too. You know, we can't solve everything here, and hopefully a partnership with the parents at home, like be involved in your kids' lives and know what's in their bedrooms and, you know their social media accounts and what they're talking about and what they're doing. I mean, it does play a key role in raising young children, right? Young adults at this point in high school, but we have to have the parent involvement as well. Anything else on vaping?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you done with your presentation?
You know what, I just had a couple other things.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
If you wanted to hear it or not, or,
Yep, you might be covering it, so I'll wait.
Okay, so one thing we did just start recently was a bus ride-along program. Kind of picking random buses, working with our transportation department. It might be, for many reasons, we're not on there to monitor the bus driver, right? We're on there, it might be because student issues on the bus, maybe some type of bullying, maybe it's a problem with a parent at a bus stop, maybe it's just traffic flow. You know, I'm constantly getting cars passing my red lights, or maybe it's where their turnaround spot is. I will say, I worked with a few bus drivers in Wales. I had a really strong appreciation for what they do, like the snowbanks, how they, you know, the snow was high the day I was on, snowing and blowing, but she knew everybody getting on the bus, knew the parents, hey, when I get up here, this house light's gonna be on, mom's gonna come running out last second. I mean, she was on it, and she knew where every kid was gonna be on the bus and managed everything, but she also knew what some of the problems were. And she knew that I have to talk to this one because I have to see what's going on in how, like, the relationships they build on the bus. And I think every bus I've been on now, I've been really impressed, like, what a good start for these kids in the morning. They get on, you know, that's, you know, high fives and fist bumps, or bringing them little snacks or treats and whatever at the bus driver. And I'm like, it's cool to see that type of relationship with our transportation department. And it's been received pretty well by everyone over at the bus garage, right? We're there to support them, right? Make sure that their routes are safe. We have had to make a few calls and address a few issues, and we are supporting our transportation staff as well. Recently, we've been going through our custody list distribution with our custody orders within district, and we just want to make sure that everyone who's in the need to know is aware, and then trying to expand it out to maybe teachers or teacher aide, or maybe whoever's out at the bus stop. Just make sure that if we have any type of order protection, anything, you know, that we're able to put eyes and have a plan on each of these kids. So that's been going really well. Been working with our maintenance department and working with Mr. Schofield and John Wolski, just trying to work on our building use procedures, maybe talking about implementing like an electronic form instead of the paper, so we could have a shared calendar, just so we can communicate better with our maintenance staff, but also make sure that whoever is using the building, that we have a clear entry point, that we have proper supervision, and we have security expectations in place. I've been working mostly with our primary buildings on this, but we've have had them here in the high school and some of our special ed programs, and also a few other classrooms. But we work with Outreach 911. Erie County dispatchers, they come in, pretty amazing people. They come in, they set up their dispatch center, and they go around and they work with small groups, and they teach the kids on how to use 911, like responsibly, and they teach them how to ask the questions. They go through all different scenarios, and then each student goes around and gets to practice making a 911 call. So that's been really beneficial. Still working with our local fire departments, state police and sheriffs, coming through our buildings just so they know our policy procedure. We have troopers and sheriffs. We're coming on lockdown season here soon. We'll be working our next 2 required lockdown drills over the next month and a half. So each time I run a lockdown, I do try and have a trooper, sheriff, somebody else in the building, just in the event of a real emergency. They see how the building operates, they know what our expectations are, and then we're keeping that law enforcement relationship strong. It's that time of year now where our doors, we're gonna, temperature changes, they start swelling and, I'd say it's almost daily where you get a call from one of the buildings, we had 2 just today. Either a lock or a door swell issue. Our maintenance has been amazing, usually within the day. They get out, they fix it, shave it down, move it, adjust it with whatever is needed. I think you guys are aware, but Aaron Quado in the middle school has a certified canine, Oscar, that he occasionally brings in. So Oscar's trained in explosives. He's certified. He's really good with the kids, really good at what he does. Aaron trains pretty hard with them. We did use him here one time just as a preventative over an email that went out to other districts, but we did do a sweep and get to utilize him here. So Oscar's been a good addition for us. I know there might be questions about hall pass, the tracking system Raptor, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I think one of our biggest success stories here as of recently has been the camera purchase. Finally able to get new cameras in the building. It's a big cost. I know that came with a big cost on that, but a lot of our cameras are old, outdated, maybe can't accept updates or parts broke, we wouldn't be able to fix it, so we do have our new cameras coming, and once that's completed, the camera company will work with us and go back through it, then find any blind spots, ensure the system's fully functional, and then at that point we can probably start looking at any further technology. But I know there might be a few questions maybe on Raptor or Hall Pass.
Yeah, just when you said to standardize the visitors and the building use forms and things like that, I know that other districts do use Raptor and that it's aidable. And I'm just wondering, have we looked into something like that?
Yeah, we've looked at Raptor and the cost of it, and right now, like with the cameras, it would be helpful, but we only have so much money, so we're prioritizing it for cameras and stuff that will actually, we feel, have a greater benefit for the safety of the kids. And because I stand firmly with no one's coming in the building unless we know who they are. And what Raptor does for larger schools, it identifies who they are. Well, if I don't know who they are, they're not getting in. And that's why he talked about, like, with the custodial agreements, where they're making sure everyone knows who are the red flags. But if someone shows up to the door without an appointment, they're sent away. Raptors let these people who show up unannounced come into the building. They don't come in at Iroquois.
So how do we track, like, where our visitors are? It's just
They escort them.
pen and paper?
We escort to and from
So every visitor that comes into the building?
all day.
Okay, volunteers are coming.
And listen, I'm not saying that we shouldn't look at Raptor at some point. I'm definitely an advocate for it.
Yeah.
I think Raptor has many benefits, not only just looking at sex offenders. I think in the event of, God forbid, if we ever have to do a reunification, go off site, it's instant feedback. It tells you have instant, instead of trying to collect paper copies from the buildings of who signed in, where they are, we know instantly where people are, and it does integrate with eSchool, so that also helps. I think when we first started looking at Raptor, it seemed to be more just to check the sex offender list, but now it does offer a lot more functions. We haven't ruled it out, but we just realized that we really had to fix our cameras, a lot of either dead
So it's
cameras.
something we're still,
No, it's nothing, no one's against it.
right.
It's just the
If it's
prioritization
aidable,
list.
I just
Yeah, it's aidable,
question
but-
whether or not, how
But the
much.
cameras were aidable too.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's, anything you get through BOCES is aidable.
Yeah.
But there's always still a local cost to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we have to just prioritize what we go through with the list.
Okay.
So we did come up with the idea, like, let's strengthen our visitor policy, so they do call ahead. We do have a visitor sign-in log. When the visitor gets there, we do go up, we greet them at the door, come on over, sign in here, take your visitor tag, where you headed to, down the music, okay, let's go. Walk them down there. Like, that's been working good. I'm not saying that's the final answer. I think just looking at, like, finances and other things we needed first. So we did try and enhance our visitor policy. And I think when the time's right, we should go back and look at Raptor.
Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't want to come across against it. I just realized that you can't get
You have to
everything all at
prioritize.
once.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what sucks. First things first. we don't like, whatever appropriate word I should be saying. I'll let it slip a little bit.
You mentioned,
Oops.
students skipping class and camping. Do you think a different hall pass system or an electronic pass system would be effective?
You know, so
Controlling
that again comes with money and a cost, and then it's only as effective as the students keeping the pass on them or the teachers stopping instructional time to log in who's taking the pass and where they're going. So you look at that and there is some concerns about like loss of instructional time. We do it would be nice, and I know I want to say that maybe Mr. Beto's looked into that, but it came with a pretty significant cost.
Oh, it's
It did. Yeah,
monetary besides loss of time.
Yeah. So there's a big cost to it, but it was also like that loss of time, or if somebody who's actually going somewhere where they shouldn't be, are they gonna leave that pass on them? You know, they're probably gonna set the pass somewhere else, go wherever they're trying to go and then grab the pass after.
Yeah, and I know what, other districts have hall monitors.
Yeah.
Employed, sometimes it's the bus drivers that
Right.
work part-time. And I know that comes with a cost as well. But do you think that the current, you did mention that vaping's going down, but then there's some other concerns that might come up. Do you think that current procedures are enough to monitor the students during the day?
You know what, I feel like they're effective. Could it be better? Yes, right? If you had a couple monitors throughout a building, especially in the high school, like would that be helpful? Yes. But I feel like we have really good staff that right now is positioned by the bathrooms, where they're pretty good when they hear a lot of the voices in there. Like they'll walk right out of the class, walk across, hey, let's go, there's 70 in here, let's go. So I feel our staff has been pretty good, where we go in, we do the same. Do things still get by us? Yes, but we are pretty good as working with Diane Healy in attendance. Hey, so-and-so was here for the first 3 periods, but she showed absent for this one, but she just checked in so we'll then go backtrack and say, okay, she was in the bathroom. So we get admin, they handle disciplinary at that point. So I feel like our system has been pretty effective. Or some going to slip through the cracks, I'm sure. I don't ever want to say anything's 100%, but we do work hard at it, so.
And I appreciate you coming in and spending the time to
No,
present
thank
to
you.
us today.
No, thank you.
Very informative, and hope you come back.
Sure.
If there is an issue and that you need something from us.
All right. No, definitely appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Yep.
Regarding those passes, that's the program where you have to go through your computer and then get approved by the teacher to go somewhere, right?
Right. I'd like your input on it. Go ahead.
I know Orchard Park does that.
Yeah.
I think Clarence does that. I don't know many students that think it's good. A lot of people tell me they have to log into their computer, their teacher has to approve it, and then they have to go somewhere with their computer in case they were asked, like, hey, where's your pass? And I feel like that's a little more than we do right now, and I feel like, I don't know, what we do now isn't the worst thing.
You know, I do agree with you. Like, my first impression when I heard about Hall Pass, I'm like, this actually sounds pretty good. But then I started looking into that, and I started getting like feedback like what you just said. Like, it's only as effective as the kid who's carrying around can't have the phones now, but I think you could do it through a phone or the school tablet. So they're only as effective as the kid who's carrying around the tablet or the teacher who's going to stop teaching to go in and manually enter something or accept it.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like a lot of cost, and like the good kids who follow all the rules are going to have it with them, but the ones who want to try and skirt the line a little bit are probably going to leave the laptop somewhere else while they go into the bathroom or whatever it is they're trying to do.
And then even if there was like a substitute teacher, would they not have to have access to like all the kids and stuff? Because then that would.
And you probably would run into that, right? All right. Can I get your opinion on vaping in the bathrooms? Does it feel like it's better? Has it gotten better since, say, 2 years ago before we put the alarms, the vape alarms in? And
I think that kids know who does it and who does not do it.
Right.
And sometimes you walk into the bathroom and you're like, oh, here we go, and then you hear it and you know exactly who is doing it, and I feel like there's less people that are trying it now, as opposed to like, I think it's more introduced to younger kids who think, oh, this is cool, and I think as you grow older, you're like, oh, this is actually horrible for you, like,
Right.
I would never do that.
Right.
And so I feel like that comes with age and with the education of what it actually is and stuff.
And I guess going over to their point over there, do you think bringing in an outside resource, like somebody from Roswell, at maybe even at an earlier age, maybe in middle school,
I think even.
to show them the effect of intermediate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think even younger, because I think you can only stop it so much once it's started. Because I think a lot of times once kids are already doing it, it's, oh, I'm fine, I've been doing it for so long, and they might not believe the long-term effects. And I think that you kind of have to stop it before it starts.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
Just before you guys leave, Carrie, Chad? Chad? Just before, yeah, you were out there, you were like a student. I just want to say, to you two and to the board members, one of the things that I've tried to do, and with Keith, was to take our board discussion and trim down the laundry list of items that used to be on it and put on 1 to 3 items that will encourage, discussion and have valuable discussion. And I think that, to all my fellow board members, and you help Keith and Doug, you're the ones to go along with it. And, you two showing up here doing these presentations really kind of reinforces that the discussion is important. When we used to have like 10 items on here, you're not having discussion. You just can't. And I thought the discussion on both these topics was very beneficial and, well thought out. So just thank you to everyone. That's all I want to say on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going on to the exit survey.
So typically do an exit survey at the time of the budget vote. I believe you all received the one from last year. First question, do you want to do one this year? And if you do, what's the burning question that you're looking for to be on the exit survey? Because some of the things, where you live, communication, we've done quite a few times. The answers are pretty much similar over the last 10 years. We're not finding anything new. So is there something new you would like or some other tidbit of information?
One quick question on this, which I think is the most important question. Of the amount of people that answer them, and I don't know what that is, do we gain, no matter what the question is, do we gain any meaningful and relevant data off them? Because just to do it, I think has no value. If we're gaining something from it and enough people are filling them out, that has value. But if we got 1,000 people showing up to vote and 20 people are filling them out, I'm not sure if there's any, if our community finds value in them, that's one thing. But if it's just like on a piece of paper and someone's going, I don't want to, waste anyone's time either, or waste, our time.
Do you know the number, Doug, how many people filled it out?
634. I don't know, I could be off by a few, but 600 and some. I want to say what I get back on the survey, for me personally in my position, it's never a surprise, the percentages and the numbers. It's a nice affirmation that I'm not misunderstanding the community, but I haven't gotten anything in here ever that I didn't expect. In implementing the SRO program, it was nice evidence that the community was behind it to implement it, and that's why I said, is there a burning question that we want to ask on it? Because if there isn't one, and we're just asking, how's communication going? We know that some people are very happy with it, but we know we need to always improve it. So it depends on a question that you would have. This isn't until May, so if you don't have an answer today, you want another month to think about it, that's absolutely fine. We're looking at a way, so instead of having one person sit here and tally it all up, we're trying to be able to run it through a program digitally, through AI or something, to accumulate the results. But if there's nothing to ask, then why put people through an exercise?
Because it's feedback.
And that's it, and that's why I say, the feedback for me shows that I'm in tune with the community.
And it's valuable. If it's valuable feedback, we should do it. If it's not valuable, then it's just garbage. But.
It shows me I have, you know, it shows, I shouldn't say it shows me the district hasn't lost touch with the community and what they're thinking about the questions we ask, because they're pretty much always exactly where we expected them.
I mean, like Doug said, I guess we don't have to answer this tonight, but is there a question that you guys would want to ask?
And again, we can think about it. We don't need it tonight.
Yeah.
Right now. Give
That's
me
a
the
good answer too. We can revisit that, but.
Well, as I was reading through, I would just say I could probably ask 2 or 3 questions out of the 10 you have and get the same answer.
You
Get the same
could.
result.
Right.
And so what I would suggest is having 4 key questions that give us some inference and some insight versus the number of questions. You can always allow for comment, but I don't know that, and I'm just reading through, and some of them are benign, some of them don't.
Some of them are.
Some of them don't actually move the needle, and so I would consider just redacting some of them, making a little more strategic, and through a scale, right? Because scale of 1 to 4 doesn't really give you the range. So if you ask a more strategic question, you may need 1 through 10 and fill out kind of where you are. So those would be the changes I would suggest.
Yeah, and this is surveyed during the budget vote, which is a board event, and that's why we come to the board. So board wants to think about it and next month come in and hammer it out, we're good. Or you want to send me ideas? I'll try to compile your ideas and put it together.
Like Keith said, we're into, we want to move the needle. Can we put a question on here that says, what's one thing you would change?
The board can put any question on here you want as a group.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, Dawn, pick a date by 2 weeks, whatever the day is, let's submit questions, email to the board that we would think that are important. We can all sit them in there, and if you have 2 and you have 2 and you have 42 and I have 1, but then we can, instead of that way, we can ahead of time look at those questions and the ones that are all duplicates, they're duplicates, and we can just narrow it down from there. Does that make sense?
So remember, for procedure, send them all to me, we'll compile them, or send them to Dawn, one of the two
Dawn,
of us,
will you
or
send
both
out
of us.
an email to all of us just asking, saying, just pick a date that have them into you by, okay? Okay, we will move on to the superintendent report. Doug will give the budget update.
Yep, so I'm going to give the budget update, he'll pull it up. John apologizes for not being here. He had, an event with his family and we say family first, so that's where he is. I'm so lucky I get to stand up here. I never really stand up here, and I tell you, I'm old, it hurts standing up. I brought my own mic, you can keep yours. There's no real big update here, and actually I forgot some of my papers I wanted to use. So when he put this together, however, what came out last night was the one-house bills. One-house bills are the ones that come from the Senate and the Assembly. So what happens with the one-house bills, they kind of put out what they think. Then from there, they argue it out. The Assembly comes up with, and the Senate come together what they want. They meet with the governor, and then they end up with the budget for the next year. So I can talk about a little bit about those real quick because they're not in the presentation. Both the one-house bills want to increase 2% for the foundation aid. Currently, the governor only has it at 1%. So they would like to have more foundation aid. It would double what we get there. The other thing that's good for us is they want to increase, so when you look at school aid as a whole, it would go up $581 million. Only about half of that would be the foundation aid. The other half, we don't qualify for. It all has to go to things like English, language learners, which we don't have, waiting for students of homelessness and foster care, which we don't have a lot within the district. So unfortunately, we don't get it. So when you hear the state saying this big number, don't think that's Iroquois' number. The other thing it has in there is increasing aid per pupil for library materials to go up to a little over $11. That would be nice. But they also say they want to increase building and transportation payments for high-need school districts. We don't qualify. $10 million for civic education. We wouldn't get that. They want to do the executive preschool proposal, which is really having something in place by 28, 29 for all, making sure all fourth graders have access to UPK. What else is in there for us? Schools, they want to do something, they call it make-ready costs for storage and other infrastructure upgrades related to zero-emission bus transition and eligible for building aid. I have no freaking idea what that means yet. I will let you know when I figure it out. But I think, and I was at a nice presentation yesterday for EV buses that was put on by National Grid, NYSERDA, and another company. And they were talking about it there. So I think it's one of the grants that they're trying to drive so that schools can implement electric buses at a lower rate than what it's costing. They did put information up there saying that it's going to be cheaper for the fuel for the electric buses than it would be for a diesel vehicle. However, fuel does not include the cost of everything else, of buying the things and take care of it. And one thing I want to tell the board I learned yesterday, and I had no idea, I'll be talking to the senator about it, Senator Galvin, because we will be hosting all the superintendents here next week. I don't know, coming up, all the superintendents that are in his conference or could be coming here. I'm hosting the meeting with Senator Galvin for that. And I found out that if the substation doesn't have enough energy, we have to pay for the upgrade. I did not realize that. After they picked me up and, hit me with the AD machine, I started asking questions about and other people did. And the best way, and what was really frustrating with me is we all know, according to the governor, we have to by a certain date, 2035, to be fully over to electric buses. So therefore, I'll equate power to donuts, because that's what they did at the presenters. I thought it was a great analogy. The substation can make 50 donuts. There's 25 up for grabs. I know I'm going to need 20 of them. But I'm not ready yet. We got our waiver. It'll be years down the road before we get there, but I know I'm going to need those 20 donuts. But if Pete shows up and wants those 20 donuts first, and he takes my 20 donuts, I have to pay for the upgrade. Mm-hmm. If I said I wanted the donuts first and took the donuts first, Pete pays for the upgrade. So therefore, the school, a private entity, could go in there, suck the power out of the substation, which is fine, they're creating jobs, but then we have to go pay for it. How is it paid for? Is it aidable? I don't know, because we have to pay the money to the utility company. It's not a capital project.
Right.
A huge question, so I'll be bringing that up. Keith is nodding his head yes, saying, yeah, you should have known that. Thanks so much for having my back. I appreciate that. But that was one issue, not on this, but I found out. So we're still working through those, but we'll get on with the presentation now. Here's the agenda. It hasn't changed too much. The gap reduction, this is what John has been doing, the district has been doing. He's been working with people, going through and starting to work down from where we were in that over $1 million. The state aid update, this is where foundation aid statewide to increase by 2.96%. Okay, we got the minimum 1. That's what I was talking about. We're trying to, the both houses are trying to get that to 2%. Hopefully that'll happen. And inflation, that's where I always come back to. We don't make inflation. Inflation is 2.63. Even if they give us 2, we're under that. We're not keeping up with the cost of living. Here's the whole formula. I'm not going to go through it, but that's how we got what the levy increase could be. The levy increase could be is what the levy goes up, not your taxes. Taxes go up based on the assessed value of your house and the equalization rate, because remember the equalization rate tells you, the state tells the assessor how wrong they are. So this is really what your house is worth, and so that's how you get up with how much you pay for taxes. So if the equalization rate, if none of them are to change for next year, everyone would go up 2.12%. We know that it will not happen because of all the stars below. Here's what's happened over the years. Again, this is everyone being equal. You did addition, or if they say the houses in one town became more valuable than the houses in another town, that shifts the burden around. John watches this all the time, and he says, so if one year you have a huge spike, usually someone else gets hit by an equalization change, so over 5 years, it kind of averages out that everyone's at the same point. It hurts one year, but the other years aren't so bad. And that's what I was talking about. Capital outlay project. That's one thing they're talking about in both houses, is increasing this to $250,000. Right now it's $100,000. This is where we spend the money, we get the aid back the next year. We've been doing year after year. So the next one will be replacing classroom floor tiles. Why? Because they're deteriorating and they need to be replaced. $250,000, we'd go twice as, well, more than twice as far. to be accompanied by, it's always a year after the vote. Here's the aid. The estimated revenues really haven't changed at all. We've locked in the levy at 2.12. So when you look at it all, the revenue is going up 1.04%. You can see some negatives there, and oh my God, it's only going up 1. But remember, that building aid going down by 11% is expected. The revenue is going down there, but guess what? The expenses are going down the exact same amount. So it does not hurt anyone. This loss of revenue doesn't hurt anywhere in taxes because it goes down in here too. See the minus 10% here? Now there's more things in there just than the building aid. That's why that one's 11, this one's 10. They are the same if we were to break it down by exact line item. And so you can see the expenses are by 2.04. They don't match, which leaves us with a deficit right now. It's been brought down from $1 million to $600,000. And the hard part, it's the numbers you can always make match because it's just adding and subtracting. It's about the kids. It's about the mission. It's about instruction. It's about providing them opportunities. And that's what makes it the hardest thing to do, because when you talk about making any cuts, it's opportunities. The good news is, for next year, we really believe that we can make this balanced without losing any opportunities for children. So there's Proposition 1 to be established, as we have to get it balanced. Vehicles, yes, they're going to be diesel right now. We are not getting electric. If we could find a way to get a whole bunch of aid on one and it costs the same as diesel, we might. But right now we're planning on diesel, and the small vehicles would be gasoline. 2 bore seats are open. They have till April 20th. That's when the deadline is, 30 days before the election. And there's a website to get information for running. Today's March, so we have the April, then we have the budget hearing, then we have the vote. And I think I'm up to questions. And the reason it was quick is because really not much has changed because we're just getting stuff back from the state.
You did reduce it from $1 million to 600,000.
Yes, he did.
So are we expecting that to drop again the next time we?
Yeah, every time I look at him, he drops. I say, boom, and he drops some. Yeah, we do, because there's still more things and more numbers that we're working through. We're hoping this 2% we'll know is going through. That's going to be a gamble of how we're going to do it. Yeah. Last year, the budget wasn't on time by April 1st, if I go back to these here. April 15th is when we're adopting it. So if the state budget comes in at 2%, or we really know it's 2%, we might take a little gamble there on the revenue. We would make sure, when we say gamble, we always have a backup plan of using reserves. That's what we did last year. It all paid off, everything worked out. And we used reserves as normal when it came around to the actual budget.
And at the end of the day, as of April 15th, the budget has to balance. So it will come down to 600,000? Yes, it will, because it has to.
Yes.
Or Doug will find $600,000 in revenue somewhere.
Right.
One of the two, but it's got, by law.
I'm going to start charging to come to the board meetings. It's long enough as it is, so hey.
But by law, it's got to match.
It has to match. By law, they have to be equal.
Right.
So whether we're getting a little more from reserves, right now, the gas prices, so we thought we were in a good spot. Because remember, for fuel, we have to estimate out till next June. So in April, it's over a year out. We're estimating gas prices. We thought we had a good forecast. Unfortunately, the world has changed that.
Yep.
So maybe that'll change too.
And obviously, I would caution using reserves to plug holes, because it's if you got a cash flow concern, a one-time plug doesn't solve the problem.
No, I like to use reserves for one-time issues because it's one time. You can't live off your savings account.
Yep.
And if you think you can, let me watch you.
Or there's a
unless you keep putting money in your savings account.
that's I mean, not to be funny, but that's the problem the city of Buffalo is having right now.
Yeah.
And because when you use one-time revenues to plug operations, you end up in the red.
Whoops. And this is just a slide I always love, because it just shows how for years we haven't kept up with the cost of living, and it'll just be hard. It gets harder and harder each year. Okay, I'm good.
Now Doug has a list of recognitions.
So now that John's done, what am I talking about, the high school administration. High school administration, so right now, we do have an individual that is retiring over there, an assistant principal, and I usually do recognitions later, but I do want to point out that I just received notice today that for Sandy's Region 12, he has been nominated as high school assistant principal. He's being dedicated that as the outstanding in this area, the number one person for the high school assistant principal. So congratulations to Mr. Vito for receiving that recognition. In replacing him, I really looked at it. I looked at the number of students that went down. I pulled reports of staff, talked to the other principals about it, and I was looking to make a huge reduction here, a change of staffing. And then when I looked at the number of people, I went back to 07, 08, and I said how many teachers were there, general ed teachers. There were 61.35, and now there's 50, so basically there's 11 teachers that are different. Aides, other ones, support staff increased by 6. Aides and teacher assistants are the same. And so that's part of the assistant principal's duty, is to observe and, monitor it. It's also looking at the programs. When Chad talked about the programs here, SEL and everything, and I said, okay, what is going to be the impact of cutting this? What's going to be the impact to program? And I really started thinking about it. Then I started thinking about, okay, who can replace it? Who are we going to attract to replace it? Because I was thinking if we went to a part-time dean of students, that would be a good thing, because they could take care of attendance, the vaping issues, doing the sub-list, a lot of these lower level things. But then when we look at it, and Pete might want to talk here too, about impacts to instruction with the New York Inspires, thank you, coming in. What are going to be the instructional changes going to be here? Because that's what they lead. I still think there needs always to be right sizing in a district. As you can see, throughout my career, I've done that. How am I trying to balance, and then what's the succession plan of what we have here? Because, you look at the age of people, a lot of assistant principals work as assistant principal, then move out and go to a principalship somewhere. So you're losing this history within it. You're losing this continuity. What do we have to replace that? When I look at all these things together, I think the first step in making this being smart, of building, keeping the ship upright with these changes, would not to be having a 12-month assistant principal, but a 10-month assistant principal. This would save district money. It would still allow all the functionality in the areas that were there. I'll say 3 weeks ago, I'll say a month ago, I was at a different point, but in all the research and looking at it and looking at what we have to face, talking to, building administrators, what they're facing, what they're doing, making that first step, and I fully think that in a couple years there has to be a second step made. I don't think this is the end of the journey. I think this is the start of it, and this would set and keep the district moving on the trajectory it is, especially with the new coming, we have new evaluation system coming in, and looking at the load of what they do here for observations. If they move, it would severely impact the high school. By leaving it where it is with that, it would keep them right on par. I would say the closest building is the middle school. It would be right on par with that, with observations of 30 at the middle school, 27 at the high school per administrator, but yet having it be a 10-month would allow someone to move forward in their career, allow us to look at them and look at a plan for us moving forward. So I'm out to the board about making that change, because this is a financial decision, and I want to make sure the board supports it.
When was Doug's last day?
Oh, this wouldn't be till 26, 27. His last day would be, I don't remember, July 10th, 20th, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there'd be room for handover?
Yes. Yeah. I'm getting ahead of it because what we have to advertise for. And technically, I'm telling you, he's retiring because he gave me permission. It hasn't gone to the board yet, has it? No, it hasn't gone to the board yet. So I'm really just trying to get ahead of everything.
And I know this would be more of a question for Dave or Doug. Just what are the chances of finding a 10-month administrator? I mean, it just seems kind of, that's all.
I would say we got a pretty good chance to find a 10th month administrator. Like Doug said, for the vast majority of folks that get into the assistant principal position, they're that's their first step in the administrative role, and then look to move on from there. And then some people might like that time during the summer because they're moving out of a teaching position, usually into an assistant principal position. They still have young families probably, and it opens up the door to have that time.
There are other districts that most of their administrators are 10-month. It's not an unusual position.
And then and then one other question, you just answered one is, I know this one may go without saying, but I'm assuming that the 10-month administrator is less expensive than a 12-month administrator.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to pay him more, but now that you say that, that's pretty smart. So I'm going to go that way.
And does that decrease correlate?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
it does. Absolutely. And that allows for the transition plan because, we'd have time with Mr. Beto, but then they also have time to learn from, work with the other people here. So we'd have to work that all out. But I think I would like to get more, honestly, selfishly, maybe coming out of business office, I'd like to get more of a savings. But I think this is the right thing for the district at the time. And it gets us moving towards the path that I think is where we should end up.
So the writing's on the wall and to some degree based on ratio in students, but what are we giving up by going to a 10-month? Because to me, that seems to be maybe a more transitory position.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would we be giving up if that actually went through? And your plan is then, if it is transitory, every 24 months, you're going to have someone new. So then to me, I'm looking at it, you're going to have overlap every other
Right.
year. So that's actually going to cost more money because you have overlap. So if you're looking at a transitory position, you actually may not be saving the money you think you would because
Right.
you're going to have overlap for transition every time.
Well, I'm thinking assistant principals are more transitory, but I'm also looking within the district of, people also look, if they really like a district they're in, who's going to be retiring. And we do have three administrators are quickly approaching retirement. So I'm thinking within those years, that would be right about the time frame when they would be transitioning. So I'm hoping to get them in here and keep them here at Iroquois, so they would be learning here. The piece we'd be missing by them not working in the summer, which I'll add to what are we missing,
Right.
would be they wouldn't be here for some of the instructional initiatives. But that's why I also want to work out, if you think about it, a full year employee is 240 days, 11 month is 220, therefore they'd be 200 days. So teachers here are 187. So you're looking at about 13 days there. Could we work out somewhere where they might come in a couple days in training near the summer? Because that would be that instructional piece. But if you rely on your principal to be more of the heavy instructional leader, and we do have another assistant principal because they divide up the departments by dividing up the departments in such a way that the ones we're focused, we always focus on all of them, but the ones we're focusing on more heavy would be the ones that would be in the summer when they're in here and they would be assigned those departments.
So part of your plan is, kind of the key point, is not just to replace the current vice assistant principal, but to have someone on the bench for the three administrators that are going close.
Yeah.
So you're trying to kill two birds with one
Trying
stone?
to time it correctly. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm looking to make sure the board's comfortable with it, because that's the way we'd move forward.
I think the only other question would be is why this half step? Because
of some of the initiatives coming down from the state,
okay,
the amount of observations are there, that's a new plan that's coming in. I don't think, you kind of get used to driving at a certain speed down the thruway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go faster or slower, it makes you feel really awkward, and then you're off kilter. And at this juncture, I don't want the teachers to feel unsupported and the ship to be off kiltered. The initiatives like Officer Barry was talking about, I don't want those SEL programs to be off kilter. And that's why, because this starts We're starting to slow down the speed for the exit ramp, but we're not on the ramp yet.
And I guess the only caveat that I would add is, you run the district, you and Dave do personnel, so if you think it makes sense, not speaking for the whole board, speaking for myself, I support it. The only caveat in there, kind of to take Keith's point, I don't want to see that the 10-month person now is in fact costing us more money. You know what I mean? That's
No,
what
I don't either.
But that's I would. But in your planning, like I'm saying,
Planning,
cautionary. Like
Yeah.
to Keith's point, make sure it's not like. And I'm just going to totally make up numbers for the public here that we were spending $100 on an administrator, and then we bring this person in at 80, but we end up spending 115 because we got two of them here at the same time.
Right.
That, as a board member, would. I don't want to say I'd be angry, but that would upset me, and that's something.
No,
I
I absolutely agree with you, because if something was happening like that, I'd say, well, I miscalculated. We need to go from a 10th to a 12-month and come back to the board and make sure you condone changing that amount of expenditure we're doing. But right now, I think we'll be great there, and I think it will have, you saw the numbers. We have to keep right-sizing. We've lost 11, since '07, we've lost 11 teachers. There's been 3 administrators. That's why I picked '07, and that was the first year we had 3 administrators. So that's why I'm backing to that date and looking at everything that's changed. I think it's the prudent time to make this change.
I think that it would be good for you to document just what your thoughts are and how you came to the conclusion of 10 months, so that we kind of capture what our thinking was, so that if the rationale behind it, and not to put it in a board.
Well, actually, we'll be in the
agenda.
board minutes, because I said it all in the board, so it's actually all going to be captured in the minutes already.
But like more specific, because you were generally were speaking, but just, this is what our rationale is.
The math and the bullet points.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
what we're thinking, so that when we go back and we'll be like, what the heck was Doug thinking when he said that 10 months? To kind of just get a better
So what I'll do is,
document our
little
assumptions.
atypical, but what I'm going to do is I'll work with Dawn to get them in the minutes.
Okay.
And then you can review the minutes to make sure it meets everything you expect. And the reason I'm doing it that way is if I make a document and give it to you in a Friday memo, 6 years from now, no one can look it up.
I was going to say that to Heather's.
This makes it a public document that anyone can look up and anyone can see.
And to Heather's point, in 3 years, we may be here, we may not be, that when the board is looking at this, they'll understand, oh, they did it because of this. So if they got to make a change to more or to less, they'll know where we were, just not like, why did they do that?
So I'm going to challenge you one more time about the requirement for the administrator. Now, that is, I'll call it the role that you're identifying to bridge the gap for all the initiatives.
Right.
My question would be, is that the only option? Because I think there may be other ways to keep programs moving. And I don't know, I'm not an administrator, I'm not in the district, so I'm speaking from a professional background, but I'm more speaking to, is that the only option? Because to me, I look at it and it's like, you have 10 months, you have 12 months, and that's the only option. Is there something else? Are we missing something else? If technically we're going to be down 3, 4, 5 years down the road, is this the only option we have to make a decision? And that's what I kind of want to know, because for me, it seems like it's either 12 months or 10 months, and that's what it is.
And that's exactly, I guess I wasn't clear enough when I started. When I started thinking about this, I was thinking more of a dean of students, because that's another option. You really have principal, assistant principal, dean of students. Dean of students could either be you hire a full-time person in, try to find a part-time, which you'll never find, or a teacher on special assignment. I explored all those dean of student options, and because of their position and title is different, they wouldn't be able to do like the observations and different things that the assistant principal, and that's why I'm at assistant principal for 10 months.
Okay.
Because I cross those off. Those are the options.
It gives us the best bang for our buck.
Yeah, the best bang for our buck, yeah.
Can I jump in for 1 minute?
Oh, go right ahead.
I think two things. I've worked previously in districts that brought on 10-month assistant principals and have seen it work in that it is a good way to bring somebody in and develop them. And in most cases, in the situations I've been in, those people are retained and either move into a 12-month role or eventually into a principal role. So there's models of this that exist in other districts that are working really well for them. I also think having it be an administrative position, you do get a deeper candidate pool than if you were trying to bring in somebody to serve as a dean of students with maybe slightly more limited scope of responsibilities, but the need to really probably do more than just the dean of students in order to sustain the high school in the way it needs to be sustained. And then the third part of it is really big changes are coming to the way we do high school in New York State with New York Inspires. And I don't know how far into it you've explored it, but it is, looking like there is going to be a pretty strong overhaul in how we identify what the attributes are that our graduates will have when they graduate, but also the pathways that we need to provide to them. And I think in that way, it is really important. We are going to need instructional leadership at the building level to help navigate that change. Because it's not changing one area, it's changing pretty much every academic area. When we look at how students will be assessed, we look at what types of products and experiences will be provided for students. One of the things New York State is moving towards is an option for more internships and work-based experience, and that requires a high level of, I would think, administrative involvement, organization, scheduling, and supervision.
And Pete, not just so basically, and I like what you said, if I understand correctly, you're saying that when the candidate, the pool of candidates, someone who's on a 10th administrator, that type of person's ceiling may be up here because they're looking to advance, and when the dean of students, their ceiling may only be here because they're looking for a more limited role?
Yeah, I think so. And I do think posting, and Dave is our HR person, but I think when you post something that has an administrative role and certification,
it gives you that better.
It gives you more flexibility.
More high potential people.
Well, more flexibility with the work they can do and a deeper candidate pool.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that answered most of my questions.
They're not doing anything, Don.
Well, because what I was trying to understand is why, right? What are the reasons why we need to look through that lens? And from the takeaway, and I think this is a good conversation for the board. It's a transient position, possibly. It's a succession opportunity for those moving through the district, and it also could be a retention opportunity to keep folks in the district longer. I mean, for those reasons, it seems to be a benefit. I'll go back to the economic side. There is going to be some overlap, and if you do get turnover every 12 months, this is a wash, and we probably should have done something different.
I would agree.
And so that's kind of where the strategy has to be key folks that are in key positions to be able to make this work. But again, I mean, I like the thought process behind it, and Pete, thanks for clearing that up. And I mean, you both kind of together made it more clear of the reasons why, and then based on how the administrators function, which I don't know all the time.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, Pete's new, but I enjoy having him in his office because I had a plan of where I was thinking of going. He challenged my ideas, which is why we ended where we did. So I'm glad he spoke up. Yeah, I know, I'll give him a compliment. Don't worry, next week I'll take him down a peg. But he challenged my ideas, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete. Tell me I'm wrong again. That was it. That thing. Recognitions. Let's see. So this Carrie did the athletics. So this week is the high school musical, Legally Blonde, at the high school auditorium. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Saturday, so there's a 7 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Don't listen to me, it's on our website, go there and look it up, and you can get tickets with the QR code. I can tell you it's a great performance. I went in there with the middle schoolers, so I could see it early, and I did. And they did a great job. And there was one spot where they all cheered, but I can't tell you when that was because their friend came out. I won't tell you who their friend is. The intermediate school, the reading Olympic winners gold in Mrs. Reed's class, over 16,000 minutes. Silver, Ms. Van Nortwick, over 15,000 minutes. And bronze was Mrs. Camillo with over 12,000 minutes of reading. So congratulations to them, and that's all I have at this time. We already did Mr. Beto, so thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Dawn, do we have any guests for agenda items? No. Okay.
No, it's at the end of the meeting, the one you have for the blue one? Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on to discussion of agenda items 11.01 through 17.1. Dave, you got some new people to introduce to us?
I do. We got Elizabeth Lipper, who's going to be joining us as teacher aide at Wales, and then Jill Principe, who is joining us. She's been sitting through the audience the whole time, is joining us as a senior clerk typist.
Thank you so much.
At the high school, so she's very patient.
On the agenda, are there anything else anyone would like to discuss?
For 1605, that's for the spring volunteer coach, or not coaches, volunteers, so.
Yes.
I guess putting in the minutes that approved upon, assuming that those background checks will come.
Correct, yeah,
Right,
definitely
April
it'll be based on the fingerprint clearance.
Just wanted to clarify, thanks.
Thank you, Heather. What we'll do is we're gonna have to, when I get down there, to 10.02, Dawn will have to pull that one out.
Yep.
And then we'll just do it separately, so, okay. Thank you, Todd.
This is where I would jump in for asking the board for a modification
Yeah.
in one of the items.
To the withdrawn item?
No, not withdraw, for a modification in 16.01.
1601, they would like a modification because it was
To reduce the tenure years. For
To
the
one?
To 2,
to 2 years,
from 3 to 2.
from 3 to 2.
Okay, so for 1601, it's gonna change to the superintendent recommends the appointment of Tanya Gallagher, who has a professional certificate in students with disabilities, to a one full-time equivalent probationary, probation position as a special education tenure area commencing on March 12th, 2026 and ending on March 12th, 2029. Mrs. Gallagher must receive an APPR rating effective or highly effective in one of the 2 years preceding the potential tenure appointment. If Ms. Gallagher receives an APR rating of ineffective in her final probation year, the board may not award tenure, but may extend her probationary time for an additional year. And then has a salary of $49,500 prorated for the 25-26 school year based on the master step. So the 1601, that's the change for it.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why the change?
Because educational law can reduce tenure if you've been working in that same position previously, handling the same, duties and role as that teacher, working on that same certification.
Okay. So now, the consent agenda. The basic purpose of the consent agenda is to act upon routine manners in an expeditious manner. Items placed on the consent agenda are determined by the board president and the vice president in cooperation with the superintendent, and those which are considered common to the operation of the district and normally require no special board discussion or debate. Board members have the ability and the responsibility of reviewing the consent agenda ahead of time. A board member may request that any item on the consent agenda be removed and inserted in an appropriate place on the regular agenda. The president will present the initial motion, followed by a second. So, for a request to withdraw, the item for Todd, 1605 will be withdrawn, and then we'll add it separately. And it'll become, what'll be the new number? Because I'm gonna have to remember that.
1711?
That's what I think it is, but I want to share there.
1711.
Okay. And that'll be added to 1711. Okay, I have made the motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Keith. All in favor? Dawn, shows everyone's in favor? All 7 in favor? The motion passes. Now, we will vote on 17.1. 17.1. And that's when, 1711, that's when Todd will abstain. So I'll make the motion, the second, by Bob. All in favor? It shows 6 in favor and one abstain. And that passes. Okay, now we would have our, Jeremy?
My name's Jeremy Radchek. I appreciate the time you guys have given me the opportunity to talk tonight. My issue is I have a residency concern. I believe Mr. Schofield and Mr. Dobmeyer have been in an email chain with myself and a couple other administrators in regards to this situation. What I'm looking for tonight is basically clarification by the board having to do with this matter. I don't know if the board's aware of this situation that I'm going to reference tonight. Basically, it has to do with an allegation of fraud. Pretty much want to know what the board's position is in regards to nepotism, or if what's going on here is in fact wrongful conduct that's occurring within the district. Basically, this started June 17th of this year was my main concern. I have been in communication with Mr. Schofield prior in 2024 in regards to that school year. The issue at hand is the school's been provided twice, once on June 13th, 24 with a false housing submission to Aparu that was denied. Ultimately, the two children that were in regards to that housing submission, they were slated to go to Marilla Primary, okay? After the first day of school, after I already had talked to Marilla, got their room assignments, teacher assignments, whatnot, then the first day of school comes, and then I find out there's been a change of their residency to the grandmother's house, who is actually a employee of the district, okay? So I'm here more so to do what's in the best interest of my children, and as a former graduate of Iroquois, you know, I'm a proud parent to have these children in this district, and I just want what's best for them. I want them to be able to get on the bus at their true residence and not have to play a charade in order to, you know, be in the school that they should be in. Now, this doesn't have to do with being out of district. They are in the correct district, but not in the correct elementary school, okay? So I am in a custodial battle with my ex-wife over this, and her address that she moved to most recently is in the Marilla Primary District. The children are in Elma. They've been in Elma since, you know, kindergarten. My son has been there for 2 years now. My daughter's been there for 3 years. I would personally like them to stay at that elementary school. You know, all their friends are there, whatnot. But at the end of the day, I want what's best for them. I want them to not have to uphold a lie of what their true address is. Their court address is 6720 Clinton Street, which is in fact the Marilla Primary Schooling, you know, district. So like I said, more so I'm looking for clarification. You know, it even comes down to simple things like, you know, Vivian's class roster, she's the only child on this roster that doesn't have an address. Now, why is that? You know, I feel strongly that my children should know their address, they should know where they live. And because of what's going on here, they can't. So like I said, I don't know if a decision can be made tonight, or if the board has to think on this and reconvene at a later date. But like I said, I'm looking for clarification as to what is acceptable conduct, and if there's going to be any repercussions on the individual who did submit that false housing affidavit that's been notarized and sent to the school. There's a solution to the issue that, although family court has granted my ex-wife...
I'm just going to stop you for 2 seconds, because we're at our 3 minutes, and usually we'll let people finish. I just want to make sure it's okay with everyone. Okay, good.
So basically, my ex-wife does have custodial rights to have the children at their address, so I can't go above and beyond what the family court has directed here, but in a matter of keeping the children in their, the school that I would prefer them to be in, if there's an exception that can be made to have my address be their residential address, just to keep them in the correct school or the school we want them in. So that's really all I have.
Thank you, and I'll, walk the line here. We can't directly engage, with the public, but we have all heard what you said, and then we'll follow up with the administrators. Okay?
Okay, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm assuming you would have it, right? Yeah.
My current address is 1201 Bullis Road.
I have his address, and I'm just
And if you can, could you give that paperwork to the, or the?
Yes, Mr. Schofield and I,
Okay.
he's been very helpful. We've been going back and forth.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, the next, I don't, but need for an executive session, I don't have one. Okay, motion to adjourn, can I have a motion to adjourn? By Keith, second by Heather, all in favor? So 7 in favor, none opposed? So we are adjourned at